Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining this week's weekly wisdom webinar series. It is a pleasure to have you on board. Thank you so much. Reverence and deep respect, of course, to our traditional landowners for their wisdom, their innate knowledge, their contribution, past, present and future, from all lands, not just this one here in Australia where I am based in at the moment, at the present. So we are speaking today to purpose-driven as a tenet of the authentic self model. And this tenet is the fifth tenet, I believe, of course in no particular order, but we have spoken to 4 tenets thus far of the authentic self model, and this is the fifth tenet. One moment, I'll just make an adjustment here on the seat. Okay, it's a little better. So speaking today to purpose-driven as a tenet and the importance of living a purpose-driven life. In fact, that's the title of a book. I think it's Gregory Scott Peck. I've got the book in my library somewhere. I'm fairly certain it's a Scott Peck. Yeah, I'm fairly certain it's Scott Peck, A Purpose-Driven Life. Interesting book. But purpose-driven, living our lives, living our existence in such a way that has purpose. Now, we're going to identify what purpose is in a moment. We're going to get into largely the benefits of purpose. And there's so many. And I've listed quite a few. I have quite a few that I would love to discuss with you this evening. But know that there are so many benefits to understanding our purpose. I'm going to cover as many as I can, of course. Then I'm going to go into a very simple exercise. I love the simplicity of this exercise. There's 3 different ways, 3 different methodologies I have for uncovering or unpacking purpose. This one I'm going to discuss with you today is the most simplest. And they become gradually more complex or more integrated, requiring a little bit more time, different thought. This requires a lot of thought, but it's so simple. So I'm going to share with you one of the modalities or methods that I use for discovering purpose in the programs that I use, in the coaching that I do, in the workshops and so forth. And it's really the simplicity. I'm laughing because the simplicity of it is just it's so simple. It really is. So I want to begin to share a story with you first, and it's a story of someone that most of us would be very familiar with, Mr. Bruce Lee. Now, this story will provide us with some context. So, a master martial artist asked Bruce Lee to teach him everything he knows, to teach this master everything Bruce knows about martial arts, and Bruce held 2 cups, both filled with liquid. The first cup, said Bruce, represents all of your knowledge about martial arts. The second cup represents all of my knowledge about martial arts. If you want to fill your cup with my knowledge, you must first empty your cup of knowledge. If you want to discover your true purpose in life, you must first empty your mind of all the false purposes you've been taught, including the idea that you may have no purpose at all. And when we look at this, we begin to very closely understand that we are susceptible to outside influences, external influences. We are susceptible to externalized values being pushed on to us. We are open to familial values, societal values, sociocultural constructs and norms, education, the education system, governmental values, economic pressures, values of our peer groups that are pushed on us, are pushed upon us. And we then take for gospel, we take for absolute truth as being our own and taking ownership of that purpose or that reason for doing what we do. There is a great power in purpose, but in order to connect to that power, in order to understand that power with great depth and clarity, in fact, clarity is an integral part of purpose, but in order to understand that purpose, We must know ourselves. We must know what we value. We must know what is important to us. We must identify very clearly, with tremendous clarity and tremendous yearning, why are we here and who am I? These questions are very pertinent, very powerful. Who am I? Why am I here? Now, later on, at the end, towards the end of this webinar, we're going to unpack and we're going to discover exactly what purpose is about. We're going to discover exactly how to identify our purpose. But first, I want to speak to you the importance of purpose. And I would love to speak to you about why purpose is so important. But further, the integration of purpose in our lives and the difference it can make, not only to ourselves, but to others as well. To those in our close circles, that close circle of influence, but also beyond that circle of influence. To those that we haven't yet met, the lives of those we haven't quite touched just yet. And that becomes very empowering for us. So knowing our purpose allows us to live a full life. And we'll speak to some of those benefits in a moment. But how do we connect to our purpose? What's the how? Well, we're going to get to that modality or that exercise later. But understanding that our purpose drives our existence, drives rather the quality of our existence, is very, very important to understand. And it's important to understand because we will move through life irrespective of whether we identify with a purpose or purposes. But how we move through life and the quality of that movement, the quality of that recognition, the quality of the absorption of information in our environment will come down to how clear we are about ourselves, how well we know ourselves. Purpose is not just singular. Purpose can be purposes, plural. You see, I have a model of the 9 areas of life. Actually, in fact, I'll bring it up. Let me bring it up. One moment. I'll bring it up now and I'll share that screen with you. And I believe I've shared this before in previous webinars, but one moment, please. Won't be long. I have it right here. Excellent. So let me share this screen. Wonderful. You should all be seeing the 9 areas of life right now. So in the 9 areas of life, we have relationships. We have, I'll skip a few. I won't go in a circular motion. We have relationships, financial, vocation, family, social. And then we have the 4 bodies of the human person: emotional, spiritual, the mind or psychological, and physical. And these are the 9 areas of life. Now, if we really want, we can have a very distinct purpose for each area of life. To give you an example, these areas of life are actually quite integrated. I wouldn't say complex, but quite integrated. And what I mean by that is that, take relationships, for example. Relationships has 3 key components to it. It's relationship to self, primarily, relationship to an intimate partner, and relationship to earth. So when we're speaking to relationship as an area of life, we're referring to those 3 components, key components of relationships. Then family, of course, covers extended family and children, mother, father, siblings, etc. And social covers peer groups, colleagues, the broader community. Yeah. So that gives you there an understanding. Let me stop that share. Wonderful. Okay. So looking at the 9 areas of life, we can have a very distinct purpose for each area of life. You know, who is the type of person that we wish to be in our relationships? What is the purpose of my physical existence? What do I wish to? A purpose can be a goal or an objective or a series of goals and objectives, but it's generally more overlaying than that. It's deeper than that. It's more present than that. It's more connected than that. A purpose is the essence of that area of life. Who do I wish to be and why? But in saying that, we can have multiple purposes in life. But what's important to also understand is that we can have an overarching purpose for our existence, for what keeps us grounded, what keeps us present, aware, what keeps us here, what keeps us as part of this human family and really deeply connected and a part of our existence, an integral part. What drives us, what inspires us. Purpose is inspiration. Purpose is not motivation. Motivation is short-lived. Motivation is fantastic for an hour or so. And then what? Then we must rely on grace. Then we must rely on inspiration. Then we must rely on awe and rapture. And that all comes, those states come from being connected to self, from deriving a clarity of existence for self. So purpose is deep clarity of who we wish to be in the path that we wish to tread. That's what purpose is about. And when we live in this manner, we wake every morning deeply inspired. We wake every morning wanting to be more and do more, but replace more with the term evolve. We wish to evolve deeply every moment of every day to express the fullest of our potential. That's what we wish to do. And then we move from a realm of potentiality where we begin to actualize that potential through action. That becomes very powerful. And that only occurs through purpose. So I want to help you understand that purpose is one of the most important facets of being, one of the most important facets of being alive, of existence, of understanding self. Anyone on a journey of personal growth or personal development must gain clarity on their purpose, on why they do what they do, on why they are here, why are we here, and who am I? Identifying clearly with a purpose or purposes in life that mean a great deal to who we are, that redefines us. It redefines our path. It redefines our existence. That becomes empowering, and that becomes something of great connection to self and great connection to those around us. Importantly, great connection to our own journey. So I want to move into speaking to the benefits of purpose now. Because as we speak to the benefits, we're really going to, and these are in no particular order, right? As we speak to the benefits, we're really going to unpack and explore the interconnectedness of purpose and how it can affect and positively influence our lives and, of course, the lives of others as well. And that is the benefit of understanding self and knowing self deeply and profoundly. So let's begin with flow. People that live on purpose and in purpose. Actually, let me just backtrack a moment, because we speak to living on purpose and living in purpose. Part of understanding our purpose is that we are allowed then to pay very careful attention to our surroundings and our environment. And we move with a very deliberate intent. We move with a deliberate understanding of self and where we are going. Our actions and our energy is not wasted. Living in purpose and on purpose. Living in purpose gives us clarity. Living on purpose allows us to live articulately, and it allows us to live on point with great accuracy and truth. So on purpose and in purpose are one and the same and interconnected, of course, but slightly different as well. So when people live in purpose or on purpose, they live in the flow of the universal stream of consciousness. And again, these are empowering postures, these are open postures that allow us to view and observe the world with great efficacy and great strength. Rather than fighting against the current, those that live in purpose and on purpose allow the current of what's wanting to happen to simply happen. They allow what's wanting to flow to simply flow, because there is a deeper understanding. There is a wisdom and innate knowing and a clarity that comes from understanding and connecting to purpose. Excuse me. Because we understand our purpose with such great clarity and such profound understanding, we are able to ride the waves, the ebbs and the flows, the peaks and the troughs, because we know that evolving end state. See, purpose or purposes is not an end state. That's another point to consider as well. Having a purpose does not mean that your purpose will not be subject to transformation or evolution or transmutation or change at some point or the other. In fact, as we evolve and grow and we're exposed to new experiences and new environments and new relationships and new ways of thinking, models of reality, belief systems, expressed behaviors, etc., our purpose or purposes can also change. They are not fixed or rigid. They will generally, however, be more of a lifelong pursuit. But again, subject to change and variation. Understand that. Please don't be rigid in setting a goal or an objective or a purpose or a dream or a vision for self or your mission. And these are all synonyms as well for purpose, and then realize that I want to tweak something or change something, or I have a newfound love or passion for this and I want to integrate, but I can't because I've set my purpose. Personality was so long believed to be fixed and rigid. This is not the case, and it is not the case with purpose. Grace. We are able to experience grace through a clarity and purpose, through knowing our purpose. And we are able to experience that grace because we have connection and clarity to who we wish to be. And we align, I'll mention this again, in fact, we speak to, so grace, integrity, and alignment in actions. Let's look at that. Because grace occurs through that integrity and alignment in action, because we have this vision of this purpose for self. We understand where we wish to be and where we wish to go. And then we have capacity to align our actions of present with that objective for self, that grand purpose, that vision, that dream, or those dreams. Therefore, grace occurs, seamless grace occurs, and energy is not wasted nor dissipated into areas of life that have no real meaning for us. And we'll speak to meaning and fulfillment and happiness in a moment, because purpose provides that. It's a foundation for that. We feel whole and complete. We don't move through life with an emptiness. We feel whole and complete because we have clarity on who we wish to be and where we're going and why. That's the important part as well. The how is not important. The what is important, but the why. The why is so important. This is our purpose, this is the what, but why? Why do I want that? When we get clear on those two facets of our purpose, we become unstoppable. And we'll speak to unstoppable momentum as well in a moment. Fun. We have fun. It's simple as that, because we're living truthfully. We're living in congruent alignment of self. So we are more naturally drawn towards having fun. Simple as that. Values. Our purpose assists us in understanding our values. Our values are what is most important to us, the experiences that we cherish most, the experiences and also the states that we wish to experience. So, for example, your highest values may be family, friends, your vocation or your purpose. That could be your highest value. Travel may be another highest value, or adventure may be a highest value. Giving may be a highest value for you, so working for those that are impoverished. Having a purpose connects to our values. They really go hand in hand. So purpose lends itself to understanding our values deeper, and understanding our values deeper lends itself to understanding our purpose deeper and connecting to that purpose as well with greater depth and clarity. Let's speak to fulfillment, meaning, and happiness. Let's speak to fulfillment and meaning being derived from purpose. So when we have clarity on our purpose or in our purpose, and we live on purpose, we live deliberately, and we live in purpose, where we understand and we have clarity on what is most important to us, what matters for us most, what our objectives are, what our goals are. We then derive fulfillment and meaning in our everyday actions. And it's that fulfillment and meaning that lays the foundation for happiness, for experiential happiness. How powerful is that? It's tremendously powerful, like tremendously powerful. So understanding that, knowing that, connecting deeply to that allows us to be happy. That's the secret of happiness. The secret of happiness is simply finding fulfillment and meaning in our everyday actions, and we become happy. We experience happy. We live experiential happiness. And what underpins fulfillment and meaning in our everyday actions is purpose, understanding purpose. If we get nothing from this webinar this evening, let's just get that. That's it. Let's just get that. That's how important understanding who we are and who we wish to be and why is so important. Who, what, and why. Who we wish to be, what is it, what do we wish to be, and why. We develop a passion and inspiration for life. We develop this deep passion and inspiration for life through understanding our purpose, because we can then, again, it comes back to alignment in action and integrity in action, because integrity comes from that alignment, because integrity is effectively that inner state of being, those thoughts, those emotions, those feelings, those belief systems, those models of reality match our external expression of that internal state. There's a match there, or rather the external state matches the internal state through behaviors, through verbalization, through expressions, through relationships, through how we behave and how we act in the world, when there's a match, there's a marrying between internal and external, that becomes very powerful. And that's where we develop passion and inspiration. Yeah. We become inspired because we're living truthfully, we're living authentically, we're living congruently, we're living openly. We come back to wholeness again, wholeness and completeness. So all of these benefits are all interrelated some way. They're all connected in some powerful, powerful way. We become unstoppable, and I mentioned this earlier. If people living on purpose and in purpose become unstoppable, particularly the longer they live true to their purpose and the more they allow their purpose to shape their life. At the same time, generally speaking, purposeful people aren't positional in their being unstoppable. So they have learned that it's not necessary to go through life like a bull, ramming through anything that tries to get in their way of living their purpose. Remember, those that live their purpose and understand their purpose and connect to their purpose ride the wave. They get the ebbs and the flows, the peaks and the troughs, because they've discovered patience coupled with persistence, coupled with clarity, tripled with clarity, triple with patience, triple with persistence, triple with clarity can go a long way, as does surrendering to a lifetime of a higher power. So when I say that, surrendering to a lifetime of a higher power, is understanding that we are intuitive beings, and whether you believe in God or not, that's not relevant. Whether you believe in a universal presence or essence or energy, even your higher self, even your intuitive knower of all that is, we connect to that timeline of a higher power. And we place our faith in ourselves, of course, because everything is interconnected. There's a oneness and a unity that exists in all of reality. We connect to that. We know that whatever we're doing, as long as we're taking meaningful, on point, on purpose action, we're doing everything right for us. Yeah. People without clarity of purpose often find themselves stopped or very stuck in life, very jammed in life, which really isn't surprising because they haven't tapped into that inspired state that drives us with such clarity. It's like a high-powered automobile without any fuel in the tank. I mean, how does that even work? It doesn't. Now, having or engaging or understanding our purpose provides us with tremendous focus because we know where we're going and we know where we want to go. Importantly, we understand where we want to go. Now, how important is that to understand where we want to be in life, where we want to go? It allows us to focus and harness our focus on what's important. We don't waste time on areas of life or actions that don't align with us, that is useless or meaningless or not fulfilling in life. Knowing our purpose provides us a roadmap for life, which significantly reduces or eliminates the stress of indecision or fear of a wrong choice when facing major decisions in life. We become connected to self. We develop a deeper intuition for self by knowing our purpose because there's a direct line between purpose and our actions and who we are. Knowing our lives in great detail and knowing our life focus enables us to define and take steps to satisfy those nagging feelings that something is just missing in our lives. Because we understand, we have a greater awareness of self and of where we are going in life. That is so empowering for us. Knowing our life focus or our purpose allows us to know what areas of life to focus on and which ones we can eliminate or move to the background, thereby eliminating the stress of feeling guilty or not keeping up. Feeling guilty because we're not doing enough or being enough, because we know exactly where we're positioned. We're running our own race. And that's the empowered state of being on purpose and living in purpose. Knowing our purpose validates and reinforces the sense of peace and the sense of joy that comes with spending more time in areas that are congruent with our purpose, that are congruent with who we wish to be and why we wish to be that person. That becomes, again, truly empowering. We're talking about moving into open states. We're talking about moving into empowering states. An open state of being is devoid of fear. An open state of being acknowledges fear, utilizes and leverages fear to our benefit. But an open state of being absorbs more information that comes through our environment and interprets it in a more articulate way, because it doesn't come from fear, which is constriction and restriction, and ignorance and not knowing, but it comes from courage. And courage is open. So it's open to new ideas. It's open to new belief systems. It's open to new ways of being. That's what an open state does for us. Now, knowing our life focus allows us to define and legitimize some alternative careers for the majority of us that don't enjoy doing what we do for a living. So knowing our purpose at least places us in a position to know where we want to be vocationally or career-wise. We spend so much time in our careers. Pragmatically, we spend so much and practically so much time in our careers. Anywhere from you live in the Western world, it's 8 to 12 hours a day minimum. Why engage in experiences that do not serve us, where we are not living our maximum potential, where we are not expressing that in fullness? It's sad. And we're being a disservice to ourselves, to our own path, by experiencing experiences that are mundane for us. No. And we don't have no service to others. We become drained. We become almost zombified. So knowing our purpose really validates where we want to be vocationally. Knowing our purpose and living our purpose allows us to define and legitimize who we wish to be in our relationships as well. Not just in our vocation or in our career, but also in our relationships. And this is important because here we can choose to respond in our relationships in a way that is conducive to the health of the relationship, based on understanding ourselves, what our needs and our wants are, which are connected to that purpose. We can then step into courage to express those values to our partners or to our friends or to our family members or to whoever it may be. And when we do that, we're providing that person an opportunity to be the best version of self they can be in that relational dynamic as well. Because we're speaking from heart, we're speaking from truth, we're speaking from open mind, because we have a clarity and understanding of our purpose and what's important to us and what we value and where we want to and where we choose to come from in life. If the area is consistent with our life purpose, knowing that life purpose will free us to say no to other things that are competing for our time and our attention. And if this area is not congruent with our life purpose, it frees us from the guilt of not doing more. That's powerful. That's important. And that's clarity in purpose, yeah? Knowing our life purpose allows us to eliminate a lifetime, and I mean a lifetime of accumulated should do's. Should is such a toxic word if used incorrectly. It can be a deeply toxic word. It's those should do's that others have put upon us. So again, societal values, cultural norms, familial values, education system, peer groups, extended family, values that we can appreciate, but we don't really take ownership for. They don't resonate deeply with who we are and where we are going. Just adjusting the screen. Knowing our life purpose will allow us to step away from activities and responsibilities that are not in alignment with that purpose, giving us more time for ourselves, but importantly, giving us valuable time, not only for ourselves, but also for others in our lives. That is empowering, and that is so important. Further, knowing our purpose allows us to move towards satisfying that lack of fulfillment that spawned the question, is that all there is in life? Is this all I am going to be? Is this all I have to offer? Why am I here? When we get clear and answer those questions, we don't ask those. We'll always ask, who am I? That's a permeating, almost not endless, but continued question. But look, so is that all there is? But the space that we come from when we have clarity in our purpose, and when we get clear on how to identify our purpose, we develop that skill set and those tools in how to do that. When we say, is that all there is? It comes from a very different energy, a different place, a different intention. It comes not from a place of lack or fear, but it comes from a place of courage and expansion, the yearning to deepen our knowledge of self, deepen our wisdom of our surroundings and our environment, and deepen our understanding of our relationship, to self, to intimate people in our lives, and to earth, and to reality in general. That becomes very empowering, and we come from a different place by knowing our purpose. We learn to develop a far deeper sense of self, deeper sense of self-esteem, and deeper sense of self-respect for self. We're also able to be more compassionate for self and kinder to self, because we know what we need to do to be who we need to be, because we have clarity on all of that. Knowing our life purpose frees us from the need to compare ourselves with others who have a totally different focus in their lives. We cease to compare. We develop a compassion for self, a self-value. We begin to realize that what we value most is really what's most important. And we must come from that foundation of understanding. We must come from that foundation of wanting to connect to self and connect to the truth that we are. Knowing our life purpose, knowing our sense of existence and being, allows us to redefine what success really means to us, and not be defined by what success means to the masses or to an externalized set of values. Again, familial values, friendships, our careers, or our workplace, whatever it may be. We needn't be defined by this anymore. And success is defined by our own purpose, by our own value set, by who we wish to be and how we wish to move through life. That is what purpose is for us. Understanding purpose. Knowing our life purpose will allow us to break free from the need to be doing things that are not in alignment with our purpose, and to be doing things that are for others that are not in alignment with who we are. We begin to harness our time and streamline our time. We begin to streamline our experiences, and we carefully choose who do we wish to be in every moment of every day. That becomes deeply empowering. Excuse me. And knowing our life purpose allows us to have a ready answer to the questions. Why am I here? What's my purpose? Because when we know that, we find a deep comfort in being. We discover a deep comfort in our lives, and we experience enrichment and richness and grace and humility and ease in our lives, because we have clarity of mind and of heart. And we have that clarity. We begin to connect to self in quite a profound way, in a way that we never have before. And we can only do this through moving through the process of not knowing first. This is the paradox of knowing purpose. We must move through a space of not knowing, and then effectively and eventually move to a space of deeper knowing. And when we do this, wow, life changes. But we must embrace the not knowing and embrace the journey of wanting to know and wanting to discover. And knowing our life purpose will help us chart the path towards making a grand difference in the world. When we make our purpose, or part of our purpose, larger than ourselves, we in fact are living the most authentic, powerful life possible. And when I speak to power, I don't speak to an autocratic, coercive, controlling power or rigid power. I speak to an authentic, open, healing, loving, caring power that comes from a place of what I call selfish selflessness. And that is a dual purpose, or a yearning to move through the world in a particular way. And that is to move with the intention to evolve one's path, one's journey, one's soul evolution, if you like, while simultaneously being of service to our fellow human being, our human family, whether it be our loved ones or a complete stranger. And when we come from that place, we're coming from an authentic power. That's the essence, the derived nature of an authentic power. And that comes from a congruent balance and integral connection between heart and mind, between these two brain states, the cognitive brain state and the heart brain state. And that becomes extremely empowering and deeply gratifying. Deeply, deeply gratifying. In the more complex, not the more complex, the more integrated, or you could call it a bit more complex. In the more complex or more integrated method or modality for discovering purpose, we look deeply at what purpose can you have, or how can you integrate an aspect of purpose that allows you to live life in a way that is larger or grander than yourself, to live for something that is bigger than you, that will supersede you when you are gone, when you physically perish from this earth. That it's a legacy that you can leave behind. And not from an egoic state, oh, I want to leave a legacy and I want to, for example, have children for the sole purpose of leaving my name and allowing the name to be passed on. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but not coming from an egoic point of view that is purely self-gratifying, but also being of service to others. Does altruism truly exist? Potentially and probably not. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with doing things or taking action or having particular experiences that serve us deeply, that serve our soul state deeply, that allow us to experience life fully. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic, in fact. But also doing it for the reason, purely the intrinsic reason to be of service to others. And it's that combination, that selfish, selfless combination. There are a number of benefits that I've listed there. And I hope by listing these benefits and by connecting to these benefits, you're truly beginning to understand the power that understanding purpose has, the passion that comes from living on purpose, the inspired action, daily action that comes from living on purpose can have in your life, and the impact it can have on others in your life. So let's move now towards how do we discover our purpose? And I've used various systems in the past, like I've said to you. And in fact, I have 3 major systems that I use. And this is a very simple and interesting system for understanding self and for understanding purpose that I'm about to go through now. First, there's 4 steps to this. 4 steps. The first step is take a piece of paper, or take if you're on a Mac, or you're a tab, it doesn't matter what computer you're on, but just open up a Word document or a word processing document or a note, or if you're on a tablet, open up Notes or whatever it may be. That's the first step. Take out a piece of paper and a pen, blank sheet of paper and a pen, and just a blank sheet on your digital canvas, whatever that may be. Right at the top of this is step number 2, right at the top. What is my purpose in life and why? You can even negate the why if you want for the time being, because we're just discovering our purpose for the time being, okay? You'll intrinsically understand your why once you get your purpose, yeah? That will come very, very naturally. So you don't even have to put the why. Just put, what is my true purpose in life? What is my calling in life? That's all you need to do just for the time being. Let's keep this really, really simple. One purpose for the time being. It can be an essence, it can be an overarching purpose for every area of life, okay? Number 3, write an answer underneath that. Put a line underneath, by the way. What is my true purpose in life? Write an answer, any answer. The first answer that comes into your mind. And it doesn't have to be a complete sentence. It can be a short phrase or even dot points as a starting point. Step number 4, repeat step number 3 until the answer that you have makes you cry. That's your purpose. That's it. That's what we do. That's how we roll. 4-step process. Now, this usually takes 20 to 30 minutes to clear your mind of all the clutter, the cultural clutter and the social conditioning, the socio-cultural conditioning that we've experienced about what we think our purpose is or should be in life, and what rules we think we need to live by. And the false answers will come from your mind and your memories, and they'll express themselves on the canvases as a brainstorm. Allow that to take place. But when the true answer finally arrives, it will feel like it's coming to you from a very, very different source entirely. It will come from a place of truth and authenticity and depth and clarity, and you'll connect to it, and it will be very, very different. It will be an emotional, spiritual, physical, psychological feeling, state, experience, thought, all in one. And that's what it will be. For those of us that are sometimes entrenched in low awareness living, it will take a lot longer to get the false answers out, possibly more than an hour. Possibly you may have to come back to it over days, over weeks even. But persistence here is key. Apply my 3P model to this. Practice, persistence, patience. Practice the exercise. Be patient through the process and continue to persist until you've achieved that goal, which is tears of gratitude, tears of connection, tears of understanding, tears of joy, tears of wow, awe, inspiration, rapture. If you persist, after 100, 200, maybe 500 answers, maybe 1,000, you'll be struck by the answer that causes you to surge with deep, connected, spiritual, physical emotion. The answer that will almost break you. And if you've never done this, it may very well sound absurd or silly or not really a connected practice, but do it anyway. Entertain yourself. Entertain me. Try it. See what happens. You might be very surprised at the answer. Now, as you go through this process, some of your answers will be very, very similar. This is very normal. And you may even relist previous answers. And again, that is absolutely okay. That is absolutely acceptable and is absolutely very normal. But what happens is you will head off in a new tangent, and generate 10 to 20 to 30 to 50 more answers long along some other theme that is different to the repetition that you've had. And that's okay as well. List whatever comes into your mind. Do not be shy. Do not hold back. Do not judge yourself here. It's a brainstorm. Allow it to all come out. If you think it's silly or repetitive, that's okay. Write it out. Write the same thing down in a different way. No problem. Just keep writing. At some point during the process, typically about 50, everyone's different, but 50 to 150 answers, you definitely may want to quit if you get to that point. If you're getting past the 100 mark, you're going to want to quit if you're not getting the feeling, okay? But don't. It's normal. Push past the resistance. In the resistance, in the challenge, on that border of support and challenge. Remember, you're being supported because you're doing the work and you believe in yourself. But you're being challenged because you're not achieving a stipulated objective that you've set for yourself. And that's okay. Don't get frustrated. Breathe. Relax. Engage in some basic box breathing. 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold. Or some 4-7-8 breathing. 4-second inhale through the nose, 7-second breath hold, 8-second exhale through the mouth. Relax the nervous system. The feeling of resistance will eventually pass. I promise you, just keep riding. You may also discover a few answers that seem to give you like a mini surge of emotion where you feel inspired very quickly, but not quite make you cry. It doesn't quite give you that deep emotional response that you need or that you know you can experience. They're just slightly off. Highlight those answers as you go along. Mark them, highlight them with a marker, whatever it may be. Come back to them to generate new permutations and understandings of self. That's very important because when you get stuck, you can always go back to there and just brainstorm from those points. Yeah, that's really important. So each of these points reflects a piece of your purpose, but individually they're not complete. Okay, when you start getting these kinds of answers, it just means you're getting warm, you're on track, you're on the path. Just keep going. It's important to do this alone and to do this with no interruptions. Now, I would suggest surrounding yourself and embracing nature. Move into a natural state of being. Really get into a place, go to the beach, go to a park, go to a forest, go to the jungle, go wherever you are, go to a national park, but connect to nature whilst you're doing this. Be in that inspired, calm, serene place. No interruptions. Now, if you're a nihilist and you then feel free to start with the answer, I don't have a purpose. That's fine. Or life is meaningless, and go from that place. But if you keep at it You'll eventually converge, and you'll eventually transmute, and you'll eventually begin to start writing something of meaning, something that fulfills who you are, something that connects you deeply to yourself. And there, in that moment, you'll discover your purpose, your what in life. What is it I wish to be? Who is it I wish to be? And why? It all comes from identifying with clarity who you are and why you're here on this earth. We all have a purpose or purposes. We all have meaning. Life is not meaningless. Just because we may not understand a facet or aspect of life, it does not mean that life has no value for us or life grants us no purpose. In fact, life grants us all the purpose that we ever need. We simply must push through the bullshit, push through the cultural clutter, push through the fears, understand our fears of failure, of success, of judgment, of being ridiculed, of not completing, of whatever it may be. And there are a multitude of fears for different people. When we move through those fears and we push them aside temporarily and we ask ourselves earnestly and openly and honestly and truthfully, why am I here? What is my purpose? Who do I wish to be? And why? And we get connected to that. Like, I mean, really fucking connected to that. It's a game changer. It's a life-changing process. It really is. The simplicity of it is life-changing. I can't express to you how much of a difference understanding why I'm here has made to my life. When I experience pain, when I experience difficulty, arduous times, challenges, when I experience disconnection and feelings of brokenness, I revert to my purpose. I revert to, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Just keep living this. Keep doing this. Keep persisting. Because my purpose is true to me. I believe in it, and I believe in myself, and I believe in what I stand for and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So when it gets tough, I realize that life, this is just part of life. It's a very normal part of life. And in fact, it's a gift, and there's value in this. I take a very stoic approach because I'm connected to that purpose. I have a direction. I have an understanding. I have a clarity. I don't feel confused. I know exactly what I want from life. And with that knowingness comes an ability to express the grandest version of me. And when I experience those troughs and those ebbs, those flows, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, it's chaotic, sometimes it's clarity, but in that chaos, amidst in that chaos, I feel confident because I know who I am. I know my stuff inside. I know what I want. I know what I yearn for. I know what I believe in. I know where I'm going. And I know that all of that is simply part of the journey. And it's not a knowing, a superficial or an intellectual knowing. It's a deep knowing. It doesn't mean I don't get upset. It doesn't mean I don't get angry. It doesn't mean I don't experience disharmony and disconnection, but it's very temporary. I revert back to my power base here. My source of truth and understanding. And that gives me confidence and clarity, and it inspires me to move through life deeply. I want to thank you so much for watching this weekly wisdom webinar. I want to say thank you for participating. Thank you for being of service to the world in your own way. And if you have a message to share with the world, please do so. Don't hold back. Try that exercise. See if it works for you. Observe closely. Don't get too frustrated. It can get frustrating. Bear with it. Be persistent. 3P model. Practice, patience, persistence. Helps a hell of a lot. With that said, I wish you many blessings on your journey, much love on your path. And until we meet again, take care. Be well and be brilliant. Thank you so much. Take care.